Welcome! Today we're diving into the new UPSC rules for 2026, and trust me, they are a total game changer. If you're a serving officer who's thinking about another attempt, this is more than just a simple update. It's a complete rewrite of the rulebook you thought you knew. So let's get right into it. If you're currently in a service and hoping to improve your rank, these new guidelines are going to directly shape your strategy, your career, and some really big decisions you'll need to make, starting right now. You know how these official notifications can be a little dense. So what we're going to do is break it all down into clear, practical scenarios. That way you'll know exactly where you stand and what these rules mean for you personally. Okay, let's start with the most clear-cut rule of them all, the absolute hard stop. This one applies specifically to officers who are already in the Indian Administrative Service or the Indian Foreign Service. The new rule here is crystal clear. If you've already been appointed to the IAS or the IFS from a previous exam, the door to reappear in the 2026 exam is now shut. That's it, no exceptions. But here's where things start getting a little different, depending on your service. Let's take a look at the specific rules for officers in the Indian Police Service. So for IPS officers, this creates a really interesting trade-off. You do get another shot to improve your rank and maybe get into a different service, but and this is the key part, you can't be reallocated back to the IPS. It's a one-and-done deal. All right, now let's talk about what is probably the biggest change in all of these new rules. It's the introduction of a formal improvement attempt. This is a brand new system, and it's for those of you who get allocated to the IPS or a Group A service for the first time in CSE 2026. The T that unlocks this whole process is something called the one-time training exemption. Honestly, you can just think of it as hitting a formal pause button. It lets you skip your training for 1 year, giving you one single, structured chance to aim for a better service in the next year's exam. This is the question everyone's asking, right? It's not just about getting the exemption. There's a very specific path you have to follow. So let's walk through exactly how it works, because the details here are absolutely critical. It's really a 4-step journey. First, you get your allocation in 2026. Second, you officially use that exemption. Third, you sit for the 2027 exam. But it's that final step, facing the consequences of your result where your career path gets locked in. Right, so what you get in the 2027 exam is going to determine everything that happens next. You can think of it like a fork in the road, and each path has consequences that are totally binding. Once you make a choice, it's final. Now, what's really interesting here is that the system has both a clear reward and a safety net built in. If you do great and get a better service, awesome. You have to pick one and the other allocation gets canceled forever. But if you don't get any service in 2027, you haven't lost everything. You can fall back on that original 2026 allocation. Okay, but you really need to pay attention here because the stakes are incredibly high. If you go through this whole thing and then for whatever reason you don't join the final service you get, you lose both of your allocations. They're both canceled. And once you use this one improvement attempt, that's it. To appear again, you absolutely must resign. Okay, so what if you were appointed from an exam before 2026? What about officers from the 2025 batch or even earlier? Well, the rules are different for you, and they're very, very specific. The most important thing for you to remember is the number 1. If you're from the 2025 batch or any batch before that, you have exactly one more chance to reappear in the exam without resigning from your current service. Just one. So this gives you a pretty tight window of opportunity. You can use that single shot in either the 2026 exam or the 2027 exam. But after that one attempt is used, the rule is absolute. If you want to appear in CSE 2028 or any time after that, you have to resign first. No way around it. So we've gone through all these different scenarios. Let's step back and look at the big picture. What's the new playbook for serving officers? What are the main principles of this new system? It all really boils down to this. First, your attempts are now strictly limited. Second, there's a new formal path for improvement for the 2026 batch. Third, for almost everyone else, resignation is now the default if you want to keep trying. And finally, and this is maybe the most important part, the choices you make have permanent, lasting consequences. And that really is the whole idea behind these changes. This new system is designed to push officers to make a clear, final decision about their career path much, much earlier. It's meant to reduce that endless cycle of reappearance. And so, this brings us to the key question you should be asking yourself. The era of taking multiple attempts while you're secure in a service is pretty much over. This new system demands strategy, and it demands a clear decision. So, how will you plan your career path now?